ever wondered how players get so many points during hatching alliance chests? Of course, some alliance players and some alliances in general may be gemming, but there's actually a way to easily get 40,000, 50,000 and 100,000 points in these hatching chests, but it depends on whether you have a very special thing called permanent speed ups. Now, I personally, because I'm free to play, I've never purchased anything, and because I got a little bit lucky this time around, I have the ability to skip any timer in the game that is below 12 hours. Some players have different skips, some only get 6 hours, some only get 2 hours, for instance. But for the players that have 12-hour time skips, this means that the final 12 hours of any hatch or any breed, we can skip it. And so, as you can imagine, if there's a way to actually get some dragons into your hatchery that are below 12 hours, this means that in theory, you can permanently skip them. But I did want to go through some advice for players that don't have skips as well. But the first half of this, I just wanted to go through the basic way of getting through hatching alliance chests if any of your members do happen to have 12-hour time skips. You'll see that currently I've got like 42,000 points, and if we check the top rankings for clans, like we'll take a look at this alliance here, Masters Activos, you'll see that we've got some players here with 275,000 points. Now, it is very possible that what these players did, they could have just gone into their hatchery and sped up 1,000 eggs. It's possible. People spend tons of money in this game. Some people may cheat and do the same thing, in which case, of course, that's going to get you tons of alliance chest points. However, it's also possible to hit those numbers by putting in a specific type of egg, and that would be one below 12 hours, and there are actually two very, very useful eggs for this. And so the two eggs, if you have these time skips that you can put down, are going to be Archangel and War, for example. Now, Archangel and War are pretty much exactly the same, except Archangel is cheaper. I just put in War Dragon eggs because War's my bro. But if you were being optimal, you would exclusively be putting Archangel Dragon eggs into your hatchery, because you'll see that there is a 7-hour long cooldown on this, which means that I can click the play button and watch an ad. The only thing is, especially on PC, I'm just going to let this run in the background, but especially on PC, we actually run into an ads cap every single day. So if you are someone that plays on PC, you may end up having to skip over to your mobile device if you actually want to get all of your ads watched and, you know, basically just grind out this entire alliance chest. But this is basically what people do. They will open up, or they'll put an egg into the hatchery, they'll open up an ad, they will skip it. So then we'll close this Monster Legends ad, and then you'll place it. Make sure you place the dragon during hatching chests. It's so easy to forget, but you have to physically place the dragon into the hatchery. Then you can go ahead and sell it. And then when you check your point score after like 10-20 seconds just to let it update, then it will add that to your grand total. So what is it? It's a few hundred per egg that you hatch. But this means that if you have an infinite amount of ads to watch, so say from mobile, you can just do that over and over and over again. So if you weren't aware of this before, either a new player, returning player, or someone that just didn't know about this in general, some of these crazy scores that you see in these ranking lists for hatching chests specifically are probably legitimate. Any in the 200,000, 300,000 range, either they are crazy grinding or potentially hacking, but like 40,000, 39,000, this is very, very normal to see every single member of the alliance at, you know, 10,000, 20,000 plus by the end of a hatching chest easily. Now, that is for players that have 12-hour time skips, and if you ever do want to check out the profiles of War Dragon and Archangel, you can do so on, say, Ditlep or something, but you'll see that it says their hatching time is 7 hours, breeding time 5 hours, so during hatching chests, you can use either War or Archangel and just go wild with the points. All that you'll need to do is just basically, I have 2 monitors, so on PC, you know, I'll open up an ad on this monitor and then I'll just do whatever on the other one. Or on mobile, I'll just be doing something else while I'm running these ads. So that's how I got all these points. I was playing Yakuza or Honkai, basically. Basically, I'm playing a different game while I'm playing this game. And by playing, I mean watching ads in this game. But that is how you can easily grind out these hatching chests. It's why hatching chests are my favorite, because even though watching ads is incredibly boring, you can just do something else at the same time. Now, of course, that does not apply to anyone that spends money or anyone that doesn't have 12-hour time skips, because obviously that does not actually relate to you whatsoever. So we will go through some tips for how you can do well in these hatching chests. Now, before hatching chests begin, you might notice that some of your clans people end up putting in some legendary eggs or some heroic eggs, and they'll do this a couple of days before the actual hatching chest begins. So, you know, every day we'll miss out on an alliance chest and then get another chest the day after. And so you might be like, okay, well, if I knew when the alliance chest for hatching was going to come up, then I'd know when to put in my eggs. Because of course it's super easy. All that you do is you get some eggs safe in your storage. And like, I've got tons and tons and tons of eggs. I have so many duplicate eggs. There is a never ending list of dragons that I can just hatch whenever I want. But of course, the further to the right we go, these are all of our new eggs. So if we wanted to get more dragons in our collection done and we wanted to get points in the event, what we would do is, of course, we would skip over to our legendary eggs. Furthest to the right would be easiest to find. And then we go and we shove these guys into the hatchery. So let's say we were shoving Big Cake, for instance, and Big Cake has a 2-day hatching time. So then we'd have to wait 2 days. And the way that you can make sure that you know which alliance chest is coming up is by also checking Ditlep, for instance. It's still up right now. There's no issues with accessing it. If you go to the main page of Ditlep and then you scroll down a little bit, you'll actually see this section that says alliance chest. And so this one gives you the dates. So the 7th or 18th of the 7th to the 21st of the 7th is the current hatching chest, because of course that's going to finish tomorrow at 5 p.m. That's at my time in the UK. So you can change that to whatever your local time is. Then a day after that, on the 22nd of the 7th, we are going to get a breeding chest, which is another one where you can actually use time skips to really, really grind out this event. Hatching and breeding chests are, technically speaking, some of the easiest events to do if you have members of your alliance that have 12-hour time skips, but then a lot of the grind will end up coming down to them in that case. But that's a different thing for a different day to argue with your clan's people about. But for instance, if you ever were like, oh, when's the next hatching chest? When's the next hatching chest? I want to prepare my eggs and put them in my hatchery. Then we'll skip over here and you'll see that we're going to have another hatching chest predicted on the 5th of the 8th. Of course, this technically could be wrong. It could change at some period of time, but normally this is updated correctly. So on the 5th of the 8th to the 7th of the 8th, there's going to be another hatching chest. So that means one of the best things that you could do is around about the 3rd of the 8th to the 2nd of the 8th, what you'd do is you would go and you would absolutely fill your hatchery with as many legendary or heroic eggs as you can possibly fit in there. And then as soon as the hatching chest begins, you immediately hatch. It could be 6 legendary dragons, which would net you tons, like thousands and thousands and thousands of points. And then that way, you've already started off the event really, really good. Now, the other dragons that you can consider hatching during this event, mainly for players that don't have time skips, is just going to be whatever you can really get your hands on. So, you know, if you're doing random breeding, just make sure that you are constantly accessing your hatchery, for instance. Try not to do any crazy long breeds. So, like, for instance, if you only have a hatching event that's 2 days long, 5th of the 8th to the 7th of the 8th, maybe don't try and do legendary breeds if you are going to be, or, you know, getting those breeds prepared when you're not going to have enough time to hatch the dragon. Maybe if you've got a couple-hour time skips, or you can still do that to potentially get some more legendaries and heroics hatched if you have things like Demona's Tower, because Demona's Tower skips breeds, and then we also have the other tower, Broodbeast Tower, which skips hatching. Now, it's only 6 hours, but considering that the event is 2 days long and legendaries take 2 days to hatch, like you just saw with Big Cake over there, that means that if you're delayed by a few hours, or you do your legendary hatches right at the beginning and you manage to breed or place some more legends in there, there you go. It's a two-day timer, and you'll be saved by brood bee in that case. Oh my god, I can't focus with all these gigantic gold symbols everywhere. Either way, I'm sure you get the gist. The point is, if you are breeding for a legendary, make sure that you time it properly so that you can then throw the egg into the hatchery in time for it to hatch for the hatching chest. So that does take quite a bit of preparation, and of course if you are in the middle of an event like, you know, heroic race or something else, you may not want to be absolutely clogging every single one of your hatchery slots. So maybe you just want to use 3 of them, for instance, for anything like that. But that's the main thing that you can do as a player without any time skips. Is just pre-hatching or getting your pre-hatching dragons ready. So that will definitely help you. And then of course anyone that has 12-hour time skips can then pick up the rest of the slack if there's any need for it. But realistically, you should be able to still get 10,000 points in this event easily as a player, even if you don't have time skips by the end, if you're doing your pre-breeding and pre-hatching for this event. There are some other things that you could do, mainly for breeding chests. Basically for breeding chests, this is a really good combination right here, but this combo right here is also really good for things like the heroic race as well. Basically, the knowledge that you take from the heroic race, you can put it straight into breeding and hatching alliance chests as well. So, you know, using specific combos that don't go over a set amount of time, using ones that don't go over a certain period for things like that. Breeding has a really nice one in the form of Aztec, which has a really long breeding time for the dragon that it is, but it has an incredibly short hatching time, for instance, which isn't useful during this because since the hatching time is short, that means you're not going to get as many points. Because if you didn't know, you get more points in the hatching chest based on how long the egg took to hatch, which makes sense. It's very obvious, but is not quite obvious enough to some new players. So for instance, this 5-hour 50 long egg won't generate as many points as this 1 day 23-hour long egg would. It's just basically more time equal more points. So the longer the timer that you can have that gets pre-bred or pre-hatched in time for the chest, the better off you're going to be points wise. So sitting there hatching Terra Dragon eggs is not going to work on these hatching chests. Well, if you did it a bajillion times over the 2 days, sure, but it's not going to be fast, it's not going to be easy, and you're probably going to hate yourself by the end, so I don't recommend doing that. But if you really needed to bump up your points for any reason, then you could in fact go ahead, buy Terra Dragon eggs from the shop, and just hatch them repeatedly, but it's really very slow, and it doesn't get you very many points. But anyway, I just wanted to go through this quickly because I have been getting a few questions on alliance chests, and this hatching one is arguably the easiest out of all of them because, again, for players like me, we literally just need 1 hatchery slot. That is it. Just 1 hatchery slot, click to play the ad, finish the ad, then put the egg into a habitat. That is it. That is the whole gameplay for this hatching chest, and you can close to guarantee that you'll finish level 6 chest every single time with hatching and breeding chests if you have players that have these time skips. So that is one major benefit to having free-to-play players in your alliance. I know that having pay-to-win players might mean that they have better teams, and it might mean that maybe they're more experienced, so that's why they're willing to spend some more money, and maybe sometimes they're willing to gem more things. But if you have your free-to-play players that have these time skips unlocked, they can basically just go ham on the events for you, if they decide to do that. Some of them might not tell you that they're free-to-play players and just not bother to do it, in which case kick them out of your alliances. I'm only kidding, but maybe. Anyway, that is how we can finish our level 6 hatching chests every single time. It just requires myself and other time skip players to actually be around to do it. But you'll see that with 20 hours left, this chest is going to be done easily, so I'm not going to panic too much unless there's like an hour left, and then maybe I'll do some more hatching with archangels, but we should hit this easily with the eggs that we've already got in our hatchery. So anyway, I hope that gave you some information if you're a player that wasn't aware of this. So, you know, in theory, even a low-level Alliance could, in theory, get to insane point scores like this, even with relatively new players if they really wanted to. I don't see the point, because this is just a waste of time getting that many points. Like, why would you do it? There's no benefit to doing this, but hey, I guess some people just want to waste their own time. I guess it's their prerogative at the end of the day. But I will say, good luck with your collecting out of the various events. I hope that you can also get some of your special collection dragons hatched, and also get lovely, lovely points for your hatching alliance chests going forward.